When you say, I want to feel normal around food, I'm assuming you're meaning this duality where you can, yes, have food be fuel, where you're healthy, you live a long time and you feel amazing, have energy and lose the weight you want to lose. But at the same time, have a fantastic relationship with food where you don't feel guilty, don't feel obsessed, don't feel like you're always like on edge about to mess up and following meal plans and things like that. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. So that's what we're going to get into. So in order to feel normal around food and enable food normalcy, we have to get rid of all the food rules. What I mean by this is what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton, and I'm so stoked to have you in the house. Now, I have a really cool episode for you today because we're going to talk about how to be normal around food. How to be normal around food. This has been coming up a lot lately in a lot of the conversations I've been having. A lot of people that are like applying for coaching in the collective and in emails and things like that. This is a common question that keeps getting brought up is, Jared, how do I become normal around food? So I figured of all places to talk about this, the podcast is probably one of the greatest, so we can really dive into these deeper level concepts. So here's the thing. I have a little checklist here that I just made some quick notes. So if you're watching the YouTube, which you should be, I'll be looking down a couple times, but here's what we have to do. When it comes to feeling normal around food, first of all, establish what normal means to you. What is normal? What does normal even mean? Right? Because that comes up a lot. If someone tells me on a call, they're like, Jared, I just want to feel normal around food. Go, cool. Well, what's that look like for you? Because it's like the term food noise, right? Food noise is different for everyone. And if you haven't listened to the episode I did on food noise, go listen to it. But at the end of the day, like just like food noise, it's different. Like, for example, some people, food noise is all about hunger versus some people, it has zero to do with hunger, right? So it's the same thing with this concept of like, I just want to be normal around food. Well, what's normal mean? Some people, for normal means they don't have to think about tracking. Other people, it may be they don't want to. They want to be able to track and let it go and not think about it even anymore. Some people, they don't want to have to feel like they're dieting all the time, or they feel so restricted, or they feel like once they start, they can't stop, and these kind of things. Well, we have to get clear on what feeling normal around food means. Without comparing it to anyone else. A lot of times we want to compare to like, well, I feel like everyone else just does this. Like, no, everyone else's lives and everyone's life that you believe about their life is totally different than what it actually is. So when you say, I want to feel normal around food, what's that mean? Establish that. Okay. Now here's the thing. Amongst all that, I think I have a pretty good idea of what you mean when you say, I want to feel normal around food. I'm assuming you mean you want to have freedom. You want to have peace around food. I'm guessing you would love to have all the self-control in the world where you don't have to think about it, where you could literally have a cookie and not even feel inclined to eat the whole box of cookies, or where you didn't have to think about food 24/7 just to not gain weight. I'm assuming this is the kind of thing, or these are the kinds of things you're referring to. Okay. So assuming that is what you're talking about, that's what we're going to get into in this episode. And I'm not sure if my mic is picking it up or not, but my dog Remy is having a heyday on the beanbag 5 feet away from me right now. So if you can hear him making noises, I apologize. But usually these mics are pretty good at blocking out stuff like that. But anyway, let's keep going. So at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about, is how to feel normal around food, where it's not that big of a deal, because this is the duality of food. And I'll get into the nuts and bolts here in a second. Is food is more than fuel. That's where people say, well, Jared, I just wish I could, just view food as fuel and just eat to fuel my body. And that's it. I go, okay, well, what about Timmy's birthday cake? What about date night? What about dating in general? What about going to your favorite social events? What about alcohol? What about getting together with that friend from out of town who just wants to go get appetizers and talk about old stories? Food is more than fuel, right? So at the end of the day, when you say, I want to feel normal around food, I'm assuming you're meaning this duality where you can, yes, have food be fuel, where you're healthy, you live a long time and you feel amazing, have energy and lose the weight you want to lose. But at the same time, have a fantastic relationship with food where you don't feel guilty, don't feel obsessed, don't feel like you're always like on edge about to mess up and following meal plans and things like that. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. So that's what we're going to get into. So I have several bullets here just as like little talking points to go into. So in order to have be normal around food, you have to do what I call enable normalcy. Here's what I mean by that. When I say we have to enable normalcy, I mean, you can only find what you enable. I had some conversations this week with people, and they were like blown away by this concept. They're like, "What do you mean I have to? And I'm enabling the problem." I go, "Well, if you restrict your favorite foods, you're enabling binge eating. Or if you are following a meal plan where anything off that meal plan is cheating and bad and you're enabling a horrid relationship with food." We can only find what we enable. If you enable restriction, you will never find peace and happiness and freedom. If you enable chaos, you will never find frictionless fat loss, right? If you enable all these different things, you're going to just find those, right? It's like in a relationship. If you enable codependency, you're going to find codependency, right? If you enable the bully to keep taking your playground lunch money, he's going to keep taking it. You have to take a self-audit, your situation, your plan, your mindset, and everything, and go, am I enabling the problem? I did a video that did pretty well on my Instagram last week where I like filmed the video from inside my dog's cage, like in the little kennel that she sleeps in. And I basically said, hey, here's you trying to lose weight, feeling trapped. But here's the disclaimer. You're the one locking the door because your plan is what's locking the door. You not being willing to eat more than 1,200 calories is causing you to be scarce around food and hurt your relationship with food. You giving up all your favorite foods because you're dieting is shutting that cage door and enabling food restriction, which enables binge eating, which enables food guilt. Like you see where I'm going with this? Your plan enables half the issues. So if you want to feel normal around food, you have to have a plan that enables normalcy. Too often, your plan is enabling anything but normal. You see? So I have a little list here that we're going to go through. Number one, so in order to feel normal around food and enable food normalcy, we have to get rid of all the food rules. What I mean by this is most people in diet culture and who are trying to lose weight and get to where they want to be, they have all these food rules and it's ridiculous. It's very tightrope vibes. Right? These foods are good. These foods are bad. You can't eat these foods until after 6, or, oh, you have to start your day this way, or we have to have this many grams of this many grams of this many grams of this. Oh, you have to cut out sugar. You have to cut out this. Oh, if you're going to have a carb, you have to have a fat with the carb. Oh, you can't do that. Fucking stop. You are not going to feel normal around food if you have almost like Old Testament vibes with your food rules, where there's like a 500 laws around whatever it is you're going through. It will never happen. Of course, do we need some sense of direction and some, we'll call it rules or what I call frameworks? Yes. You won't lose weight if you're not in a calorie deficit, right? We don't want to be total free for all because otherwise that's just chaos. But there's a difference between that and then having all the rules where you're just like one step away from like on a landmine where it's just going to blow up. To be honest, that's actually a really good analogy, I feel, on how a lot of people feel during dieting. They're like, all these rules, they're walking through a landmine field and they are one step away from, boom, all of it messing up, the weight gaining back and struggling. Well, what if we just got rid of all the landmines? Or we had one landmine, and that's called eating too many calories, and there's a red flag showing you exactly where it's at. So you can go play and have a good time now. That's what this should be like. So you're not going to feel normal around food if you have all these food rules, right? Think about driving. Like there's one predominant, even with driving, there's the rules of the road, like stay the speed limit, stop on red, go on green, stay in your lane. It's pretty simple. So we can drive, but imagine if there were 100 other rules with that. It would be the most frictionless or friction-filled like chaos experience ever. But we want to keep as little rules as possible. This is why when someone tells me like they don't feel normal around food, and I go, well, what's your plan look like? And they go, well, I'm following a keto diet, so I don't eat carbs, but I also do it in a fasting window while counting Weight Watcher points, while also counting my calories, but keeping my sugar under this, while going to the CrossFit 8 days a week and doing this workout and doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. Yeah, I wouldn't blame you for feeling like a freaking psychopath around food. Get rid of as many food rules as you can. Like for context, here's kind of, I don't even like to call them food rules because they're more like frameworks with my clients. And again, everyone's different that I work with, but things like this: eat mostly whole foods, moderation with your favorite foods, so nothing's off limits, and eat in your calorie deficit. Prioritize protein. And that's just like a few. That's actually several, right? But there should be no list of like crazy rigid systems or rules, or these foods are off limits, these foods are good, these foods are, you can't have it all, these foods are free. Like that's not how this should work. We should get rid of as many rules around this as possible. Okay. Number 2, kind of along the same lines, but a little bit different. No more food labels. I'm trying to keep track of this. If you see me watching the video, I'm trying to highlight this thing on my phone to keep track of where I'm at, but I keep pressing the wrong button. So no more food rules, or I'm sorry, no more food labels, I should say. Number 2 is no more food labels. The problem with labels is when we have labels around stuff, we attach meanings to it. If I say these foods are bad, you'll avoid those foods and then have an inherent guilt around eating them. If I say those are cheat foods, now you feel an ethical problem, just like and because it's the same term being used, if I say don't cheat and have these foods, that's in the same category in your brain to say don't cheat on your husband, or hey, don't cheat at your work, or whatever the case may be. So your words matter a lot, because when we have our words then have meanings and emotions attached to them, and then we act on that. And then that is what changes everything. So we have to be really careful with the labels we give to food. This is why, I always hate the dogmatic side of diet culture saying, oh, these foods are toxic. No, they're not. Stop it. Don't sit there and tell me cereal's toxic when you have wine on the weekends. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, no more food labels. If you want to feel normal around food, that means all food has to be on the even playing field. Right? It's why one of the things I teach my clients is how to eat their favorite foods every single day and lose weight. If you want chocolate every day, cool. Here's how to have chocolate every day. Hey, if you want to drink alcohol, here's how we drink alcohol and lose weight. Hey, if you want to go out to eat and go on date night and go to get ice cream after Timmy's t-ball game or dance practice, cool. Here's how we do that. But if you have these rigid rules of this food is good, this food is bad, this is unhealthy, this is healthy, this is unhealthy, this is cheat, this is guilt-free, that's causing so many of the issues that's making you feel crazy around food. But again, you want to feel normal around food. So this is how we fix it. We have to change these almost like personality traits, or almost these character traits around how you're approaching food. That's right. In neuroscience, they talk about if you want to change your personal reality, we must change your personality. That's how you talk, how you associate, how your energy is, the things that you believe, and so on. So that's why number 2 is no more food labels. Number 3, as a whole, we won't get too deep into this. What we're talking about kind of correlates with this, but as a whole, if you want to feel normal around food, number 3 is you must fix your relationship with food. Now, here's the thing. I have much more content on how to fix your relationship with food. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all the nuts and bolts of fixing your relationship with food, because that is enough. That is a long enough conversation for an entire masterclass. So I won't go into too much detail on that here, but otherwise we have to fix your relationship with food to feel normal around food. Because like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, for you to feel normal around food, you have to understand that food has all these different sides to it. It's not just fuel. It's how we entertain ourselves. It's how we socialize. It's how we celebrate things like birthdays. It's how we connect with others. Food is in every area in our life. So if you want to feel normal around food, you must be able to be adaptable and malleable with food. But if you're just food is fuel and nothing else, well, date night's going to be horrific. Going to your kid's birthday party and having cake with your friends and family is going to be horrific. Trying to go on vacation is going to be an awful time. So part of being normal around food is actually being malleable and being able to adapt to all the situations in life with food, which requires a great relationship with it. I would go so far to say this is when right around now, people's all or nothing pattern comes out and they go, oh, I'm an all or nothing person. I can't just have one. Or, oh, this is when I'm a perfectionist. I'm either all in or all out. Well, that has to die. If you want to feel normal around food, you cannot have perfectionism and all or nothing and all in, all out mentality in this. It doesn't work. Your life thrives in balance. You just, to be honest, you wave the all or nothing perfectionist flag when you're validating a bad decision, if I'm being totally honest with you. So for you, if you want to feel normal around food, these other parts of you have to go. The perfectionist part of you has to go. It's not even you, to be honest. It's a pattern of yours. That whole all or nothing mentality, it's actually not you. It's a pattern that you learned somewhere. That whole, once I start, I can't stop. Yeah, that's not you. That's a pattern that you struggle with. We have to work through that and heal through that if you want to feel normal around food. But you can't say, I want to be normal around food, but I'm also an all or nothing person. Those never go together. Ever. So next, I don't even know what number we're on. We're just going to keep going. How to feel normal around food. No more diet. This is kind of a food label, but it gets deeper. There's no more list of, you have to take man, I can't talk today. So sorry if I don't know what it is. I can't talk today. There's no more diet foods and a normal life food list now. that kind of goes back under the food labels, but this gets a little bit deeper. One of the biggest reasons people feel crazy around food or they can't be normal around food is because in their head, whether consciously or subconsciously, they have a list, these two lists. They go, these are my diet foods and these are my normal life foods. That's the problem, because what happens is then when you are going to go, I want to lose weight, you eat the diet foods, which now you took everything that you love in your life and you exiled it. And you're only eating foods for this temporary period of time in a more extreme manner, like you're only eating chicken, rice, and broccoli every day, or you're only eating all the healthy foods, whatever that list looks like for you. And then every day you're looking forward to when you go back to normal. And that is really dangerous, because the problem is that your normal is the issue, right? So if you are on your diet and you are eating all of your diet foods and you're looking forward to the day where you're going to go back to normal, your weight's going to go with it. We have to change your normal. But the problem is, if you live in this world of being extreme with going from eating like a complete asshole and having no semblance of health, nutrition, or any frameworks around food to now eating what you would call perfect, and then you can't take that anymore, you're going to swing back to the other side. So you'll never feel normal around food. So we need to be less aggressive when we go to actually lose weight and be more sustainable. And then if we're not trying to lose weight, we need to be less on the other spectrum and we're eating just chicken, rice, we're just eating Pop-Tarts and gummy bears all day with no semblance to portions, food quality, processing, or anything like that. So here's what I'm saying. This pisses off the internet whenever I say it. When it comes to these, like the food list, like the diet or not diet lists, things like that, we have to basically, I put it this way. You should be eating the same things all the time. Whether you're dieting or not, it's the portions that just change. This means when you are dieting and trying to lose weight, that means I'm saying you need to have more foods in moderation that you crave, right? But this also means when you're not trying to lose weight, you should still be eating mostly whole foods, prioritizing protein, plants, these kind of things. This is how you make it a lifestyle, is you put your lifestyle and your goals all in the same pot. But too often people who say, oh, this is a lifestyle, they're just doing that for like 4 to 6 weeks aggressively until they fall off and binge the other way. But if you have a list of diet foods and normal life foods, you'll never feel normal around food. Your normal is the issue. This is why you should be eating across the board. What I teach most people is eat mostly whole foods, right? Foods that feel good in your body, that are processed less, that give you energy, that are aligned with your goals. Things like protein and plants and these kind of things that actually nourish you and give you energy, are good on your digestive system, these kind of things. But also moderation and everything else. There's no end all be all or nothing in this. So for you, when you're trying to lose weight, you're just portions of what you would call that food is a little smaller. And if you're not trying to lose weight, it's the same food. It's just the portions are a little bit bigger. That's it. That's all it is. So, but again, this is when people's patterns come up of, I'm an all or nothing person. Oh, I'm a perfectionist. I have to be really strict or I fall up. Well, that's the thing, is you can't have that mentality and that pattern and the new results you're looking for. They don't ever go hand in hand. Okay. So no more food lists. Next, kind of along those same lines, no more restriction and deprivation. If you are struggling to feel normal around food, I would bet you probably have going back to food lists of the foods that you can't have. If you're following a brand name diet and you go, these foods are bad, these foods are off limits, and you exile everything that you love most out of your life, of course you're never going to feel normal around food and you're only going to think about those. Versus you have to fix the relationship you have with the food so you can enjoy it in this container. But otherwise, if you go, carbs are bad, sugar's bad, eating out's bad, alcohol's bad, all these things are bad and evil and toxic, and let's exile them because I can't control myself. Sorry, sweetheart, you're never going to feel normal around food because you have to exist with those foods around. You see what I mean? If you want to be able to coexist with these foods where you can go out to eat, hang out with friends, have a social life, date night, the whole 9 yards, and feel normal, you have to have these foods and fix that relationship with them. So just getting rid of foods and being very all or nothing and exiling them, I don't know why I can't talk today, is never going to help. All right, home stretch. This is a little bit different one that a lot of people don't think about. In order to feel normal around food, you have to get away with eating as much as possible while still losing weight. Too often when people have a weight loss goal, they immediately go to, how little can I eat? A common question I would get all the time is, hey, Jared, what's the least amount of food a 5'6", 200-pound woman can eat? Something like that. They give parameters. But like, that's the worst way to approach it. That's like saying, hey, what's the least amount of work I can do at my job to not get fired? Or what's like the least amount I can talk to my wife and have her not divorce me? The whole mentality behind that question is wrong. right? So you should be asking yourself not how little can I eat? How much can I get away with starving myself to lose weight? Is how much can I get away with eating while still losing? That's the key. Because at the end of the day, I've talked about this in other content, is one of the biggest indicators of your metabolism and the manipulators of your metabolism is your calorie intake. If you constantly follow these brand name low calorie diets and you're always slashing calories and never actually coming out of your deficit, your metabolism will mirror that. You'll lose, if you stay calorically restricted too long, too aggressively, and all these kind of things, you'll lose muscle tissue. Your metabolism will downregulate and adapt to these lower calorie intakes. And then you'll find yourself always falling off because you feel like you have to continue to starve all the time. That's not how you want to do this. I promise. It sucks. I've been there. I've done that. I work with people all the time on fixing this. So for you, as you're trying to lose weight, because if you're watching the show, I'm assuming you have some semblance of a weight loss goal, you need to maximize your calories while still going on your journey. This is why you should be testing your caloric tolerance. You should be doing periods of maintenance breaks in diet or maintenance breaks in reverse diets and these things to maximize these numbers. Because one of the greatest reasons people feel like crazy around food or they have no sense of normalcy is because they're eating the equivalent of a toddler. If you're eating 1,000 calories a day, 1,200 calories a day as a grown adult, that's a problem. You should not be eating and just starving yourself like crazy. And it's no wonder you feel crazy around food or you don't feel normal, is if you're eating so low and you never come out of your deficit. So get away with eating as much as possible while losing. All right, 2 more. Establishing normalcy around food and actually feeling like a normal human is stop dieting all the time. This one piggybacks very well from the last one. It's really hard to feel normal around food when you feel like you have to be in a 24/7 perpetual diet. Because if every second of the day you're thinking about, I have to lose weight, I have to lose weight, I have to be in a diet, I have to be watching what I eat, you'll never feel normal around food. You also have to understand you're enabling the problem of always staying trapped in dieting. Because most people that I chat with struggle with this. If they're not aggressively dieting, there's no maintenance. They think they are aggressively gaining weight. Whereas the goal is not to diet forever. Honest to God, like when it comes to this stuff, is dieting is something you do for a shorter period of time in the grand scheme of things to get to the goal of maintenance. But the most people I talk to have never tried to actually spend any time in maintenance or to not be in a dieting phase. And if they're not aggressively dieting, they are sabotaging and they're freaking the fuck out about gaining weight. And that's the problem. It's hard to feel normal around food if you always feel like you're on a perpetual diet and you can't come out. You can't spend any time in maintenance. You can't raise your calories or go through cycling and things like that. This is a big issue. Because if you feel like you have to camp out in your calorie deficit and always watch what you eat 24/7 and never come out of it, that's like being scared to sleep because you'll never wake up. Think about that. Imagine being terrified to sleep because you have this fear of if you go to sleep, you will never wake up. When in reality, you're going to go to sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours and wake up refreshed and have energy to do things. But if you never sleep, you're going to be irritable and feel like shit all the time because you're scared you'll never wake up. That's how it is with dieting. Most people are so obsessed and addicted to, I have to be losing weight, I have to be dieting, I have to be watching what I eat. So because they have the fear of if they aren't like that, they're going to be storing fat like crazy and gaining everything back. Whereas if that's what's actually happening, you're following the wrong approach and you need to get help with this ASAP. But it's also illogical. Don't let that pattern of catastrophizing come into play. This is why it's important, not just physically and for your metabolism to take diet breaks and come out of your deficit periodically and things like that, but it's also really important for your identity and mental capacity so you don't enable this problem of always having to stay calorically restricted. So hopefully that's making sense. And then finally, when it comes to how to feel normal around food is you have to establish moderation in anything you want. And just don't eat like an asshole. What I mean by that is too often when people don't feel normal around food is they have FOMO around food, fear of missing out, or they go, oh, I can't eat that, or I'm on a diet, I can't have that. And so a lot of times that leads to binge eating because if we fall off, we go, oh, I've already messed up, so I might as well just have all of it because I don't know when I'll have it again. It's a whole wrong mentality. When it comes to food, there's nothing off limits. If you want to feel normal around food, you need to use this rule that I give all of my clients is there's nothing off limits. They literally can have anything they want. Think of it this way. You can have anything you want. You just can't have as much of it as you want, right? If you want pizza, great. Go get a piece of pizza, 2 pieces of pizza. You probably shouldn't eat the whole pizza. If you want cake, great. Go get a piece of cake. Don't eat the whole cake. right? But the problem is right around now, people go, well, but Jared, I can't have just one. Well, two things. Number one, there are levels of you listening that can have just one, but you're giving up that free will right now, saying, oh, and then you falling off the plan and just giving into that old pattern of eating everything. But then there's the other group of people that, let's say you actually are like, no, I literally can't. That means it's because you've had such a bad relationship with food and you have such a history of restricting. So that's why we need to fix this relationship in all these pieces more than ever right now. But at the end of the day, when it comes to feeling normal around food, you have to understand that there's no scarcity around any food. You can have whatever you want, whenever you want. You want cookies? Go get a cookie. You want a cupcake? Go get a cupcake. You want chips? Go get like a handful of chips. Because as you have a beautiful relationship with food where this stuff isn't a struggle, you will feel the most normal you have ever felt because you have all the options in the world. So that is it, my friends. That is how we feel normal around food and how we fix all of this. Now, I know this was a lot. So what I don't want you to do is listen to this and feel like you have to take away everything and implement all of this stuff. What I would do is start off small and only implement like one or two things. And then once you feel good with those, then come back to this list. But don't like try to drink out of the fire hose and do all of these things. Otherwise it kind of perpetuates more all or nothing vibes and things like that. Now, before you go, I have a few things for you. Number one, if you aren't subscribed to the show, be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with somebody. Because I'm telling you, the only way we can fix this at like a huge consciousness level is if you share this with the people in your life who struggle with this as well. I know you probably thought of someone that you've had a conversation with about this stuff as this episode was going on in your ears. So send this to them or share it on your story, something like that. It would mean a ton. Now, if you're newer here, I have some stuff for you. Number one, if you have not gone through my fat loss checklist mini course, it will change everything for you. Because if you are newer to some of these kind of concepts and like the idea of sustainable fat loss, it's not rigid or strict, it's just foreign to you, I actually teach this a little bit more in depth in my fat loss checklist 5-day video course. It's totally free. The link is below. Just go put your email in that where you want me to send it and I'll send it right over to you. Then second of all, if you feel kind of lost and alone on all this stuff, you're kind of alone, your friends don't get it, your husband doesn't care, kids don't get it, and you're just like, well, this sucks. I wish I was around people, like-minded people who are on this journey as well. Well, I have a free spot for you as well. I have a Facebook group called Fat Loss Simplified, where I have right at the time of filming this, I have like 10,000 people in this group who are all on the same journey. It's totally free. I post lots of content in there. My team is in there, everything like that. That way you can get the help that you need and be around other people on the same journey so you don't fall back. Because let's be real, it takes a village. Okay. What else do we have? Those two. Then thirdly, if you are the kind of person where have been doing this for so long and you're just lost and confused and you're tired of figuring it out on your own, you just wish you had a proven path where someone was with you the whole way, showing you what to do, how to do it, why we're doing it, holding you accountable, and basically avoiding all these potholes and pitfalls, then you should consider applying for coaching. There's several different routes we could go with coaching. We have my one-on-one coaching. I even have a coaching group. You can add yourself to the wait list on that, whatever the case may be. But either way, continuing to do it on your own, if you're the kind of person that thrives best with someone in your corner, helping hold you accountable and cheering you on and giving you exact tactics and strategy, that's what coaching's for. So I'll leave a link below if you want to apply for coaching. You and I'll schedule a quick call. That call is actually with me. That way I can see what's going on with you and your goals and what's even the right fit. And then we'll go from there. Otherwise, my friends, I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week. See ya.